Monday, January 27th, marked the 67th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz death camp in Poland. This year, like every year, thousands of Jews across the world remember the victims of the Nazi regime. At Auschwitz this year, over 50 Israeli parliament members made the journey to tour the prisoner block and attend an anniversary ceremony. Earlier, the Israeli delegates walked beneath a metal sign with the German words Arbeit macht frei, or work makes you free, the same sight that greeted inmates arriving at the camp. All but a few survivors died in the gas chambers, in medical experiments, or from disease and malnutrition.
It's
important to come here and to give testimony that we were prisoners. It should be a lesson. Such events shouldn't happen again.
Gotować taki los ludziom, żeby to się nie powtórzyło.
In total, 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust, and an estimated 1.5 million were killed at the Auschwitz death camp. Survivor Bogdan Bartkowski recounts his experience when he arrived at Auschwitz.
Jak otworzyły się drzwi wagonów, to uderzyły w nas.
When the doors of the cars opened, we were hit with a bright light of the huge spotlights. All areas of the camp were dim, but the unloading of the passengers was lit by lamps. There was a large group of prisoners or men wearing clothes with stripes. Dogs were barking and there was a terrible smell. We didn't know what the smell was. We could only see the chimneys with flames a couple of meters high. We didn't know it was a crematorium.
Na kilka metrów płomień. Nie wiedzieliśmy, że to są krematoria.
The largest Knesset delegation ever to attend a ceremony at Auschwitz sat shoulder to shoulder with Holocaust survivors and listened to some survivors tell of the Nazi horrors and of the hope they now have.
Today, 69 years after we left this hell called Auschwitz, we are here again as proud people, as proud citizens of the new Jewish state that rose out of the ruins of European Jewry.
The United Nations marked International Holocaust Remembrance Day at its headquarters in New York with speeches from distinguished guests and Holocaust survivors. Filmmaker Steven Spielberg delivered the day's keynote address, expressing his gratitude to survivors who helped him make the Oscar-winning movie Schindler's List.
Directing Schindler's List, interviewing survivors, this was my way to try to understand the Holocaust. Breaking down a phenomenon of overwhelming horror into individual moments was the only way I knew how to approach and better understand it. Those who lived through it know what we will never know, but we can learn because they want to teach us. Survivors and witnesses often say that their dearest hope, the hope that helped keep them alive, was to be heard and to be believed and to be understood. So although I have no personal journey through the Holocaust to recount, I offer my journey to the journeys of survivors. My Holocaust journey, and that of everyone not a survivor, is a journey toward understanding.
85-year-old Holocaust survivor Rina Finder, who was on Oskar Schindler's list of refugees to be spared from the genocide, addressed the assembly with a personal account of living through the Holocaust.
As we pass the torch of memory to the next generation and the generation after, we want them to remember. We want them to remember what most people would like to forget. And forgetting is dangerous.
Also speaking at the event was Israel's UN ambassador Ron Prosser, who spoke about the importance of the world body and the state of Israel in the future of the Jewish people.
The United Nations was born from the bloodshed and brutality of World War II to stand up for humanity. It is a responsibility that each of us here in this room carries every single day. Never again can even be allowed to take root. Never again can silence prevail. And never again can indifference reign. The State of Israel is the only guarantee that the future and the fate of the Jewish people will be held in our own hands. It is our hope for the future and the assurance of our survivals for generations to come. Am Yisrael Chai, thank you very much, Mr. President.
Remembrance events will continue this week at the United Nations with art exhibits and film screenings to promote awareness of the Holocaust.